President William Ruto of Kenya has faced significant public backlash, with protests and chants of "Ruto must go" becoming widespread. His popularity has declined due to economic struggles, unfulfilled promises, and controversial policies. At this point, Ruto's leadership is at a critical crossroads. His ability to make the necessary changes depends on whether he fully acknowledges the depth of public frustration and acts decisively. I am not a politician, so everything I'm saying here is through observation on what is happening in Kenya and President Ruto's attitude towards the Kenyan citizens. Hello everyone. A big thank you to all the subscribers to the channel. I never take you for granted. If you are watching this and have not yet subscribed, please, I'm asking you to subscribe and hit the bell too. Thank you so much. Let us continue. We are talking President Ruto and the huge frustration that the Kenyans as citizens are experiencing under Ruto. Additionally, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, OCCRP, ranked him as the second most corrupt leader in the world, based on over 40,000 nominations from frustrated Kenyans. While Ruto is certainly facing intense criticism, whether he is the most hated president in Africa is subjective and depends on public sentiment across different nations. Many African leaders have faced controversy and opposition, making it difficult to determine a single most hated figure. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, KCCB, delivered a State of the Nation address on Thursday, November 14, 2024, where they strongly criticized President William Ruto's administration. Bishop Dominic Kamenjik of the Catholic Diocese of Eldoret condemned the government's growing culture of deception, stating that truth no longer exists under the Kenya Kwanza administration. He urged Kenyans to reject political lies and instead seek leadership rooted in truth and integrity. The bishops also raised concerns over rising corruption, abductions, and femicide cases, questioning why the government has failed to stop these crimes. They called on the administration to protect the lives of all Kenyans, as required by the Constitution of Kenya, Article 26. This bold statement from the Catholic Church reflects growing dissatisfaction with Ruto's leadership. What do you think about the bishop's stance? This shift in William Ruto's public perception is nothing short of dramatic. Once viewed as a champion of the people, his presidency has now become synonymous with discontent and protests, particularly as economic struggles and unfulfilled promises fuel frustration among Kenyans. The chants of "Ruto must go," now heard at rallies, protests, and official events, reflect the growing national disillusionment with his leadership. Many factors have contributed to this decline, from controversial policy decisions to allegations of mismanagement and corruption. The reality is that public trust in his government has eroded at an alarming rate. Even institutions like the Catholic Church have openly criticized his administration, something rarely seen in Kenya's political landscape. It raises the question, can Ruto recover from this, or has the tide truly turned against him? What do you think? The wave of protests against President William Ruto has evolved into a nationwide movement, reflecting deep frustration among Kenyans. Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi emphasized that the "Ruto must go" chants are not just about rejecting Ruto personally but also symbolize the disillusionment with his unfulfilled promises and the growing sense of betrayal felt by ordinary citizens. Ruto's hustler revolution was initially a powerful campaign message, promising economic empowerment for the common man. However, as economic struggles persist, many Kenyans feel that his administration has failed to deliver on its pledges. The protests have gained momentum, with public demonstrations, heckling at events, and widespread criticism becoming more frequent. The question now is whether Ruto can reverse this tide of dissatisfaction or if his presidency will continue to face mounting opposition. The backlash against President William Ruto seems to be fueled by several interconnected factors, but the biggest one appears to be economic hardship and broken promises. Ruto campaigned on a platform of economic empowerment, promising a hustler revolution that would uplift ordinary Kenyans. However, the reality has been starkly different. High inflation, tax hikes, rising unemployment, and unaffordable cost of living have left many struggling to survive. Kenyans feel betrayed, and the frustrations that began as murmurs have now become nationwide protests. The perception that corruption and deception are rampant in his administration has further eroded trust. Even religious leaders have joined in criticizing his government. Another major factor is the disconnect between Ruto's rhetoric and his actions. Many believe that he prioritizes political deals and elite interests over the ordinary citizens who voted for him. At this point, the real question is, can Ruto regain public trust, or has he lost his political grip? President Ruto faces a major challenge in restoring public trust, and whether he can regain control depends on how he responds to the growing discontent. while his political grip remains intact, thanks to his established network and government machinery. The fact remains trust has severely eroded. For Ruto to regain credibility, he would need to 1. Ruto needs to address the economic hardships. The cost of living crisis is at the heart of public anger. He must implement real solutions, such as reducing taxation burdens, supporting businesses, and curbing inflation. 2. Ruto needs to improve transparency and accountability. Many Kenyans feel betrayed by broken promises and alleged corruption. 3. Reconnect with the people. His hustler revolution was built on grassroots appeal. To recover trust, he would need to actively engage with ordinary citizens, listen to their grievances, and demonstrate genuine leadership. 4. Rebuild institutional support. When even religious leaders openly criticize him, it signals a widening gap between his administration and key institutions. If Ruto fails to address these issues, the protests and chants of Ruto must go may evolve into a more organized movement demanding leadership change. Does Ruto recognize the severity of public frustration, and will he take meaningful action? Ruto is aware of the growing public frustration, but the real question is whether he fully grasps the depth of discontent and is willing to take genuine corrective action. His administration has acknowledged the economic struggles, with officials attempting to justify tax hikes and policy changes as necessary for Kenya's stability. However, these explanations haven't convinced the public, as many still feel the burden of rising costs. If Ruto is serious about restoring trust, he would need to engage directly with the people, not just through speeches but through real dialogue and action. He needs to adjust economic policies to ease the financial strain on citizens. He needs to prove transparency and accountability by tackling corruption and mismanagement. President Ruto needs to recognize the importance of public perception. Ignoring the protests could further damage his political standing. At this stage, Ruto has two options: course and correction. If he acknowledges the widespread frustrations and adjusts policies to ease economic burdens, he might regain some public trust. A genuine shift in governance, focusing on transparency, accountability, and listening to the people, could stabilize his presidency. Resistance and political maneuvering. If he continues dismissing protests, relying on political alliances and security forces to suppress dissent, his presidency may survive in the short term but at a long-term cost. Ignoring public sentiment often leads to political instability, increased opposition, and risks mass demand of leadership change. Ultimately, his survival hinges on whether he prioritizes the people's concerns over political interests. If he fails to act decisively, the growing protests could transform into a larger movement, making it harder for him to hold on to power.